The opposition leader pointed at her pink jacket and laughed. This is what leads Japan now? A woman playing dress-up? The entire chamber erupted in mockery. But what Sanae Takaichi said next made him wish he'd stayed silent. It was June 15, 2022. Parliament was debating the Economic Security Bill, Sanae's bill, the one she'd spent 18 months crafting. She stood at the podium in a soft pink blazer, her signature style. Professional, feminine, deliberate, Yamada Kenji, the opposition's attack dog, had been waiting for this moment. He'd built his entire political brand on being tough and unfiltered, which really meant cruel and calculating. Takaichi-san, he'd said, drawing out her name mockingly. That's a lovely jacket, very pretty. Did you choose it to distract us from the weakness of your arguments? Laughter rippled through the opposition benches. Some members actually applauded. The speaker banged his gavel, but weakly. Even he was smiling. Sanae stood perfectly still. Her face showed nothing. This was the moment she'd been preparing for since she entered politics 25 years ago. Every woman in power faces it eventually. The moment when men decide your appearance is more important than your ideas. I'm sorry, Yamada continued, emboldened by the laughter. Should we take a break so you can change into something more serious? Perhaps borrow a suit from one of the men here. More laughter. Louder this time. But nobody in that room knew what Sanae had prepared for exactly this moment. She walked slowly back to her desk. Not flustered, not angry, just purposeful. She picked up a folder, returned to the podium, set it down carefully. Yamada-san, she said, her voice calm and clear. Thank you for that observation about my jacket. He grinned, thinking he'd won. You're right. It is pink. I chose it deliberately this morning. Would you like to know why? The chamber quieted. This wasn't the defensive response they'd expected. I wore pink because I wanted to see which of my colleagues would focus on color instead of content. Which of you would choose mockery over substance? Which of you, she paused, looking directly at Yamada, would reveal yourselves as fundamentally unserious people? Yamada's grin faltered. You see, this pink jacket? It cost 30,000 yen. Modest, appropriate, professional. She opened her folder. But let me tell you what else is pink in this building. She pulled out a photograph, held it up. This is a photo from last month's opposition party fundraiser. That's you, Yamada-san, wearing a pink tie, custom-made Hermes. 45,000 yen. You wore it to signal wealth and sophistication. The chamber was dead silent now. And this, another photo, is your colleague Sato-san in a pink shirt last week, commenting on my economic policy, while wearing pink. And then she pulled out a document that made every man in that chamber freeze, but what's really interesting is this. She held up a thick report. This is the voting record on women's issues over the past 5 years. Childcare funding, maternal health care, workplace discrimination laws, gender pay gap legislation. She began reading names, slowly, deliberately. Yamada Kenji voted no on all 17 proposals. Sato Hiroshi voted no on 15. Tanaka Yuki voted no on all 17. Her voice never rose, never wavered, so let me be clear. You don't actually care what color my jacket is. You care that I'm a woman in power. And you know what? That pink jacket has accomplished more for Japan in 6 months than your entire political career. The opposition section was squirming now. This pink jacket wrote a 300-page economic security strategy that's been praised by economists globally. This pink jacket negotiated defense agreements with 3 allied nations. This pink jacket has the highest approval rating in this cabinet. She looked around the room. And this pink jacket is about to pass this bill. Because unlike you, I did the work. I built the coalitions. I earned the votes. The government benches erupted in applause. But Sanae wasn't finished. What the cameras didn't show was what happened in the hallway 10 minutes later. Yamada tried to leave quickly, surrounded by his staffers. But Sanae was faster. She caught up to him by the elevator. Yamada-san, one more thing. He turned, trying to look defiant but clearly shaken. That performance back there, the mockery, the jokes? She stepped closer, close enough that only he could hear. I let you do it. I baited you into it because I knew exactly what you'd say. Men like you always say the same thing. His face went pale. I wore this jacket specifically to trigger your sexism, To get it on camera, on record. And now tomorrow morning every woman in Japan will see that clip. They'll see you mock me, and they'll see me destroy you with facts. She smiled. That dangerous smile. You just became the face of everything wrong with Japanese politics. Congratulations, you played yourself. The elevator door opened. She stepped in, pressed the button, and as the doors closed, she saw Yamada standing there, frozen. Realizing what had just happened, he'd been strategically demolished, and the weapon was a pink jacket. Wait. You need to understand why that pink jacket wasn't a fashion choice. It was a weapon. 3 months earlier, Sanae's communications director had shown her polling data. Women voters were strong supporters. But there was a problem. Male politicians kept calling her too aggressive, too masculine, trying to be one of the boys. They want you to fail, her director said. If you're feminine, they'll call you weak. If you're strong, they'll call you unfeminine. It's impossible. Sanae studied the data for hours, and then she had an idea. What if we lean into it? What if I deliberately present as traditionally feminine and use their mockery against them? Her team was skeptical. That's risky. If you seem weak, I won't seem weak, Sanae interrupted. I'll seem underestimated. And underestimation is the ultimate strategic advantage. She started wearing softer colors, pink, lavender, cream, always professional, but notably feminine. And she waited. She waited for someone to be stupid enough to comment on it during an important debate. Yamada took the bait perfectly. The video clip went viral within an hour, but the full story is even more shocking. By 6 p.m., Sager pink jacket was trending on Japanese Twitter. By 8 p.m., it had spread to Korean and Chinese social media. By midnight, CNN and BBC were covering it. The clip showed everything. Yamada's mockery, the chamber's laughter, and then Sanae's systematic, devastating response. Women across Asia shared it with captions like, "This is how you handle sexism," and "She didn't get angry." She got strategic, but the men in parliament were panicking. By midnight, 3 opposition members had called to apologize. But Sanae wasn't done. The next morning, she held a press conference. She wore the same pink jacket. "I've received many messages of support," she said calmly, "and many questions about why I chose to respond the way I did yesterday." The press room was packed. International media, local reporters. Everyone wanted a piece of this story. "Here's what I want young women to understand," Sanae continued. "When someone mocks your appearance, your clothes, your voice, anything except your ideas, they're telling you something important. They're telling you they can't beat your ideas, so they're attacking what they think is easier." She paused. "But here's the secret. It's only easier if you let it be. If you get defensive, if you get emotional, if you give them the reaction they want." A reporter raised her hand. "Takaichi-san, some critics say you deliberately provoked Yamada-san, that you used your gender as a weapon." Sanae smiled. "Absolutely, I did. And I'll do it again," the room gasped. "Because that's equality. Men have been using every advantage, their height, their voice, their networks, their gender, for centuries. They call it strategy and leadership. When a woman does the same thing, they call it manipulation. I call it adapting to win." Another reporter. "What would you say to Yamada-san now?" "I'd say thank you. He gave me the perfect opportunity to demonstrate what real strength looks like. Not loud, not aggressive, just prepared." The press conference ended, but the story kept growing. And just when everyone thought the story ended there, security footage revealed something nobody expected. A junior staffer working late that night had captured additional footage from the hallway. The conversation between Sanae and Yamada by the elevator. Audio wasn't clear, but body language told the story. Sanae calm and controlled. Yamada visibly shaken. The staffer leaked it to a friendly journalist. The new headline, "Pink Jacket Confrontation. Takaichi, faces down, Yamada in private." The opposition tried to control the damage. They issued statements. Yamada gave a half-hearted apology on TV. "If anyone was offended by my comments, I apologize." Classic non-apology. Taking no responsibility, but the damage was permanent. Yamada's approval ratings dropped 15 points in a week. His own party started distancing themselves from him. Meanwhile, Sanae's approval ratings soared, especially among women under 40, the demographic that politicians had been trying to reach for years. She received letters from young girls. I want to be like you when I grow up. You showed me that smart is better than loud. Thank you for not crying. That last one made Sanae pause. Thank you for not crying, as if showing emotion would have been a failure. She thought about responding, explaining that crying isn't weakness. But then she realized the point wasn't what she would have done. The point was that she gave young women a different model, a different possibility. You could be soft in appearance and iron in substance. You could be feminine and fierce. You could wear pink and still dominate. The economic security bill passed 3 weeks later, by a larger margin than anyone predicted. 6 months later, that pink jacket would return. And this time, nobody laughed. It was December, the final parliamentary session of the year. Sanae walked into the chamber wearing the same pink blazer. Intentionally, symbolically. The opposition benches saw her. There was a moment, just a brief moment, where you could see some members almost react, almost say something. But they caught themselves, because they'd learned Yamada wasn't there. He'd resigned to spend more time with family, political code for forced out. Sanae walked to the podium to present her year-end report as Economic Security Minister. She set down her notes, looked around the chamber. Before I begin, she said casually, I'd like to thank everyone for their professionalism this session. It's been a productive year, she gestured to her jacket, and I appreciate that we've all learned to focus on substance over style. It wasn't gloating. It was just a reminder, a marker. This is where we were. This is where we are now. She delivered her report. Detailed, comprehensive, brilliant. When she finished, even the opposition applauded, respectfully, genuinely. After the session, a young female member approached her in the hallway. First-term representative, nervous. Takaichi-san, I just wanted to say, that moment in June, with the pink jacket, that's why I ran for office. I saw that and I thought, that's what strength looks like. Sanae smiled. What's your policy focus? Education reform, especially for girls in STEM. Good, important work. Sanae paused. And when they mock you, not if when, remember they're not laughing at you. They're scared of you. Use that, the young woman bowed deeply. I will. Epilogue. 1 year later, the pink jacket sits in Sanae's closet. She hasn't worn it since that December session. Doesn't need to. It did its job. But sometimes, when she's preparing for a particularly difficult negotiation, she looks at it. Remembers that day. Remembers Yamada's face when he realized he'd been played, and she smiles. Because power isn't about being the loudest. It's about being the smartest. It's about letting your opponents underestimate you, and then showing them exactly how wrong they were. It's about wearing pink and wielding iron. Her phone buzzes. A message from a fashion magazine. Would you be willing to discuss the politics of fashion? Specifically that pink jacket moment? Sanae types back. The jacket wasn't political. The response was, and that's the point. She sets down her phone and picks up the next policy brief. 247 pages on semiconductor supply chain independence. There's work to do, and she'll do it in whatever color she damn well pleases.